To get going about a minute past. Well, hello and welcome everybody to Scam Chat Wednesdays 2026. I'm Strat Maluma with AARP California, where I also serve as the lead for the AARP Fraud Watch Network, which is a free fraud prevention and education resource that's available to anyone. Our network is all about helping communities spot and avoid frauds and scams through advocacy, information, education, resource, and events like we're hosting today. So thank you for joining us today for our fourth and final conversation in our August series of weekly fraud prevention discussions, which we're so proud to co-host with our good friends at the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. I hope you'll help us make this an interactive call conversation by sharing your thoughts, your experiences, and more importantly, by asking your questions. And as always, we've set aside time at the end of today's conversation to answer your questions. Today, we're going to be talking about investment frauds and scams. And joining us for that conversation is a guest from the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, as well as the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, before we meet our guest for today's conversation, let me first share a few housekeeping items for our mutual benefit. For all your purposes, please keep yourself muted until you're invited to unmute yourself. To ask a question, please use the raise your hand feature or simply put your question in chat. And when we get to our Q&A portion of today's presentation, we'll invite you to come on live and ask your question. If you're not comfortable doing so, happy to ask that question for you. Lastly, please note that the opinions expressed by our speakers in their presentations and in their slides are solely of the speakers and may not necessarily represent those of their agencies. We share this information solely for educational purposes. So, as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about investment fraud and scams, how to spot them, how to stay safe, how to protect yourself from them. But before we jump into it, let me share let me share a little bit of set the stage, so to speak, for today's conversation. So investment frauds and scams are really one of those really financially damaging scams that really impact Americans, particularly older adults. Criminals target people who worked hard to build their retirement savings, pensions, home equities, and other assets over lifetimes. And they use things like the promises of high returns, little or no risk, and exclusive opportunities to convince people to invest quickly. And these scams can take many forms. Some can take forms that include fake investment advisors, cryptocurrency schemes, Ponzi schemes, affinity frauds, and investment opportunities are often promoted through social media, text messages, and online platforms. Unfortunately, as I say, these continue to result in some of the highest financial losses reported by victims each year. The good news is that our best way to defend ourselves is having the knowledge, understanding how they work and how to identify it. So by learning the warning signs and knowing how to verify investment opportunities can really make us harder as targets for scammers. So to help us become harder targets, well, I'm happy to welcome our guest for today's conversation. Joining me are two experts who spend all their days working to protect consumers from these types of fraud and scams. And gentlemen, rather than me reading your lengthy and impressive bios, I'd like to invite each of you to come on and introduce yourselves. Tell us about yourselves, the work that you do, your agency, your role, and how you're protecting us from investment frauds and scams. So, David, let me invite you to kick us off.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's good to be here. First, I've got to say my remarks are my own and don't necessarily reflect the views of the Securities and Exchange Commission, my employer, the commissioners, and members of the SEC staff. The information I'm going to provide here today is a service to investors. The SEC is a federal regulatory agency, and its mission is to protect investors. It's also designed to maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets and facilitate capital formation. The SEC provides regulatory oversight of certain market participants, such as brokerage firms, investment advisors, investment companies, and others. I'm a staff attorney in the Division of Enforcement based in Los Angeles. We investigate and civilly prosecute violations of the federal securities laws, and I currently work in the Cyber and Emerging Technologies Unit. I investigate a variety of frauds, such as Ponzi schemes, frauds targeting groups, crypto-related scams, AI-related scams. I'm a certified fraud examiner and a certified economic crime forensic examiner, and perhaps most importantly of all, I volunteer with the AARP Fraud Watch Network as a fraud specialist.
Absolutely, Dave. That's really is an important role to have. Thank you very much for that. Q, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, and the work that you do there?
Yes, of course, and thank you for having me here. So, again, my name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. It is a long name. We just go by the DFPI. I've been with the department for 9 years. The DFPI is California's financial regulator. Our role is to help protect and maintain the financial marketplace for all Californians. And we do this through a number of different licensing, oversight, and regulations of California financial laws on financial industries and professionals in the state of California. I have a bachelor's in journalism and an MBA from Fresno State University. And primarily, I lead a team that provides financial education and scam prevention presentations all throughout the state of California. And again, we do this to help protect consumers, to help prevent them from falling prey to frauds and scams.
Well, thank you both for being here and taking the time out to share your expertise to keep us protected. So let's start off the conversation just by level setting and getting sort of agreement in terms of terms. Can the both of you just start off by helping us understand when we talk about the term investment fraud, what exactly are we talking about? Just want us all to have a similar understanding of what that term means. David, would you like to kick us off, and then we'll turn to Q.
Sure. A couple of definitions I think are helpful when talking about investment fraud, starting with the word invest. Invest means activity in which money is put at risk for the purposes of making a profit. Risk and profit are the two keys and often competing concepts in investing. It's commonly known as risk and reward. Fraud means lying or deceit used to steal someone else's money. Investment fraud is a particular variety of fraud. There are other kinds of frauds. So investment fraud is where lying or deceit is used to steal someone else's money or property surrounding the activity in which money is put at risk for the purposes of making a profit. This is contrasted with legitimate investments where the risk and reward depends on certain foreseeable acts or circumstances. So for example, if a publicly traded company announces that it exceeded revenue and profit projections, you could expect the share price to go up. That is something that is foreseeable based on the facts and circumstances. Or if an investor bought, say, a bond mutual fund and then interest rates went up, you'd expect the share price of that fund to go down, something that is foreseeable. The interplay between risk and reward, the heart of legitimate investments, is what fraudsters try to exploit. They create the illusion that they will deliver the reward, hefty profits, with no risk.
Thank you. And Q?
Yeah, I think David put it very well. The only thing I would add, and it's very more layman terms, is if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and that's one of the things that scammers, fraudsters heavily rely on. They try to highlight the value and downplay the risks in terms of investment fraud.
Thank you. So David, let's stay with you for a second. Can you tell us from the SEC's perspective, what are you seeing as some of the most common types of these types of fraud, investment frauds?
From my perspective, there's never a shortage of people or companies offering all kinds of investment advice. There never has been a shortage, there never will be a shortage. But things have changed in the last couple of years, and this answer requires some explaining and perhaps two examples. There's a troubling trend of the rise of transnational criminal organizations otherwise known as transnational organized crime, usually centered in Southeast Asia, that target Americans. They create an ecosystem designed to mimic something that looks and sounds like a legitimate investment opportunity, but it's an illusion to steal people's money. And the rise in the threat from these organizations is coupled with the rise in investors willing to take investment advice from total strangers that they meet, in quotes, online through social media. Often these promoters will claim that they have some kind of AI secret sauce that will deliver the reward of making investors a lot of money with no risk. And here's how I've seen it work. People will see an enticing post on Facebook or Instagram about stock or crypto trading. The promoter claims they've got a proven artificial intelligence program that will survey the universe of information to identify profitable trades, and the promoters will often call them trading signals that is generated by the AI. The promoter will claim that there are real investment professionals, professors, and other experts involved. They will even use the names of people, and they may claim that the SEC or other agencies have certified or regulate their program. But the people that are posing as investment professionals, professors, and others are imposters, and the filings with the SEC or other agencies are fake. The investor is usually invited to a group chat on WhatsApp to communicate with the promoters. And the promoter will make believable sounding claims about the success of the AI, the people behind it, the technology behind it that is able to deliver these profits. They'll claim that investors can make very large profits, guaranteed, while the AI mitigates or eliminates the risk. Others in the group chat may chime in and say, it's true, but they're imposters too. The promoters will direct the investors to their website or an app, directing investors to send crypto to a wallet address that they control. Things might seem promising at first. It looks like the investors are making profits following the trading signals, but things pretty quickly start going badly. The investors can't get their profits out. The promoters will give them a runaround and lots of excuses that their account is frozen or there's some government investigation. Then the promoter asks for more money to unfreeze their account, and sometimes will direct the investor to wire transfer cash to a bank account that the promoter controls. The crypto and the cash are quickly transferred outside the United States through multiple transfers and through several different countries. Ultimately, the promoters stop responding to investor inquiries and vanish. True story. Another version of this AI fantasy is that people will see a post on Facebook or Instagram about stock trading. The promoter will claim to have a proven AI tool that will allow publicly traded securities to be traded by the AI system in the customer's own brokerage account. The promoter may claim that there are real investment professionals and experts overseeing the AI. In other words, an experienced human hand keeps an eye on the AI, and all the investor has to do is buy a subscription to the AI software, hook it up to their brokerage account, and let the AI start trading in their accounts. They'll claim that investors can make lots of money, mitigate the risk, and often will offer some kind of guarantee, usually guaranteed profits, or a money-back guarantee on the subscription fees, or both. Things might seem really promising at first. They'll see some promising trading and profitable trading, but things do not go as planned. The AI doesn't work. The trading has produced losses. The promoter won't honor any of the money-back guarantees, or they'll try rolling the investor into some other program and keep the fraud going. Or the promoter has simply vanished. Also a true story.
Thank you, David. Those are really truly frightening situations to be caught up in. And it also emphasizes, at least says to me, how sophisticated the whole setups are. So, Q, let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing in California. Are there any type of particular frauds and scams that you see affecting California residents?
Yeah, well, in terms of investment scams, something that we're seeing is it's not just targeting older adults, younger generation, right? High school kids as well, college age young adults get caught up in kind of investing. Some they're interested in it. Sometimes they don't know enough, and they get caught up in these investment apps. So it happens everywhere, and it's a trend that we're starting to notice, and also because of social media influences. Younger generations are also again trying to get into investing, but not knowing enough and not knowing how to verify or be able to see the red flags, and they get caught into this. So again, it's a very broad investment fraud. Investment scams are a very broad and long-reaching type of scheme. By far the biggest category, and just touching on some of the things that Dave was talking about, is imposter scams, right? And that's where scammers pose as financial gurus or other investment professionals. That's and again, setting up those seminars to get people in, maybe getting into like an investment community group on social media, and again posing as multimillionaires, and they can make you multimillionaires. Well, those are all imposters, and oftentimes it's hard to verify the legitimacy of their claims. The other thing that we're hearing about is things like cryptocurrency scams. So things like pump and dumps, right? And a pump and dump or rug pull is where someone, again, posing maybe as a financial guru, some financial influencer, or other investment professional, and they say that, oh, I have insight that some stock is going to go up into the moon in a couple of days, and you need to buy now. But in reality, they have a lot of those shares, and they're just trying to pump up the value to a certain point, and then they're going to sell all of their shares. And of course, that depletes the value of the stock or whatever crypto asset, and then you kind of lose all your money. So we try to bring a lot of awareness about that, right? It's very difficult to check the validity of those claims, especially when it comes to cryptocurrencies and crypto assets. Two more things I do want to talk about just real briefly. Scammers are using AI to enhance their scams. It's not new scams, it's just they're making it harder to detect. So again, going back to what David's saying, scammers could use AI to build websites. They could use artificial intelligence to build invoices and fake documentation and give it to you. So don't trust documentation just because it has a logo, just because it looks official. Always verify legitimacy. And then the final thing I just want to throw out there is precious metal scams. That's scammers who are using fear of the market and economic conditions to make you try to buy into things like gold and silver. When you talk about like platinum as well as diamonds and rubies. Be very careful. If someone is pressuring you to get into or transfer over roll over your 401k or buy into these kind of investments, we really want you to do your research first.
Yeah. Thank you very much, both of you, for sharing that. It seems that we're living in an age of celebrity, of fast money, where folks can make quick money through investments, or at least believe so. And the whole celebrity appeal on social media, selling investment opportunities, we don't know whether they're true or fake, kind of really muddies the water, makes it difficult to know what's right, what's legitimate or what's not. So thank you both for sharing that. David, I want to come back to you. So many scammers often promise a guarantee of profits or minimal risk, minimal returns, etc. Can you say why a guaranteed return should be, for somebody thinking of investment, a major red flag?
Well, the promise of guaranteed profits and minimal risk is as old as the hills. In the examples that I gave earlier and multiple ones that we hear about when big frauds blow up, the offer of a promise of guaranteed profits and no risk is always a red flag. And for me, it goes back to the definition of invest. Anyone who claims to have a guarantee or offers some type of guaranteed result is basically claiming that they've eliminated the risk associated with putting money at risk for the purposes of making a profit. So anybody that offers that type of guarantee is immediately suspect. A clever promoter might avoid using the word guarantee and instead may use other soothing words to convey the safety of their investment. They may say it's safe. They may say it's secure or secured. collateralized, protected, backed by assets such as real estate or a fund or a reserve, or might use insurance-like buzzwords like insured or bonded or annuity. There is no guaranteed return when it comes to investing because, like we talked about in terms of the definition, the very definition of investing is putting money at risk for the purposes of making a profit.
Thank you. And Q, we often hear about crypto-related scams. You touched on it a little bit. Now, both of you touched on it a little bit. But what should consumers know when investing in crypto-related opportunities? What's some of the things that's important for them as they consider that as an opportunity for investment?
Yeah, and I'll echo exactly what David was saying. Oftentimes, when you hear about some kind of crypto investment, the promoter of such an investment usually says things like guaranteed returns or it's a very, very safe or risk free. And again, those are kind of the biggest red flag. Again, just exactly what David's saying. There's no such thing as a risk free or a guaranteed return investment. And that's just some way that the promoter is trying to get you to buy into it. The other thing that the other thing that I always try to tell individuals is with cryptocurrencies or other crypto asset investments, there is little to no regulation of those investment products. So again, it's very easy for a scammer or actually just a regular individual to create their own cryptocurrency and asset and then list it on some kind of crypto exchange. And there's no guarantee that it actually has any kind of value. And again, because there's no regulation, that means there's no security around it. It could be absolutely fake and has, again, no value whatsoever. It could be legitimate, but it's very difficult for you to verify that information.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, let's talk a little bit about social media. Um, a growing number of people receive investment offers through Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, all those types of platforms. So, what should folks know? And this is a question for both of you. What should folks know about investment opportunities that are particularly, promoted through social media? Sometimes you see celebrity endorsements or celebrities, helping to promote those. Um, what would you say folks should know? Let's start with David, and then we'll hear again from you.
The SEC has published on investor.gov a series of investor alerts warning about investment opportunities promoted through social media. So, like the examples I gave earlier, both of them were hatched on social media. There are two investor alerts I'd like to highlight. First is one that's entitled Group Chats as a Gateway to Investment Scams from December 2025. It warns investors should never rely solely on information from group chats in making investment decisions. It also advises to be wary of group chats where you receive investment advice from someone you do not know, because this is often how investment scams begin, like the ones that I mentioned. And it advises on what to watch out for, including impersonation of well-known financial experts and investment professionals. The second alert is called Social Media and Stock Tip Scams from February 2026. And it says that investors should never make investment decisions based solely on information from social media platforms or apps, and it advises what to watch out for on stock tips or red flags, which the alert explains. And if from my vantage point as an investigator, I've seen the rise of complaints that we get of a variety of frauds that people first heard about it on social media. It is something definitely to be aware of.
Thank you, David. Q?
Yeah, and this is a discussion that I've had with not just other agencies, but also consumers as well. The real big problem is social media platforms create a sense of trust because very often your own friends and family and maybe even community groups that you value are on that social media platform. So again, for me, I say it is a false sense of security and a false sense of trust, just because you have those friends and families and your connections there. in reality, and again, echoing what David is saying, these social media platforms do not verify or vet the ads or posts that are published on their platform. And maybe your friends and family share a post with you about an investment opportunity. Just because you trust that friends and family doesn't mean that the post that they share with you is legitimate or even timely. That's the other thing to understand. Sometimes they may see a post from years ago and then they're just sharing it with you without knowing. And you might get it, you might read it. Again, that false sense of trust that you have with your friends and family can cause you to make bad decisions without thinking it through. So again, very big warning here. Social media platforms, again, do not verify the ads or the posts that are published on their platform. You need to do that on your own when you see them.
Absolutely. I think what I'm hearing from both of you is, the source of the information becomes very important. Also, verification becomes very important. Just because it's on the internet doesn't necessarily mean, it's true or genuine. So, but, Q, you were starting to touch on something, how convincing maybe because your friends have seen it and are sharing it, affinity groups. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I want to ask David, affinity fraud is a term that most people may not necessarily recognize. Can you tell us what an affinity fraud is and why it can be especially dangerous to community groups, faith community groups, veterans, older adults, those types of groups?
Yeah, so affinity fraud is generally where a individual will infiltrate, or maybe they're a part of a community group. So maybe your veterans group, or maybe it's your church group, or even if it's friends or families, right? Somehow if it's a scammer, they're able to infiltrate in, or they have someone kind of vet them into the group, and then they basically perpetrate their scam from there, right? So it could be, again, it could be a family member saying, "Oh, I know a guy who does this financial stuff. I want you to talk to them," right? Or it could be someone coming in and saying, "Hey, I'm an expert. I'm a friend of your uncle, etc." And what they're using is they're using that trust that you already have within your own, trusted circle groups. Again, it could be a work group, could be your veteran community that meets every Friday, that kind of thing. And that's the biggest danger about it, because again, you have that sense of security with and trust with your group, your affinity group, and then that individual comes in, again, either being brought in by a trusted individual or becoming a member of your affinity group, and then using that trust to perpetrate their scams and fraud.
Thank you. And I'm also, David, do you also want to weigh in on this question?
Yeah, briefly, fraudsters count on people believing that someone in their own group won't cheat them. From my experience, it's a form of manipulation surrounding reducing the risk because, and it's a generalization, we tend to be less suspicious of the motivations of people who are like us, look like us, pray like us, belong to some group in common. But these frauds are particularly awful. A woman who was a victim of an affinity fraud once told me that as bad as it was losing her money in a Ponzi scheme, it was worse because she and the promoter knew each other from church and they prayed together. She told me that the experience shattered her faith. The emotional toll of affinity frauds can be traumatizing to people.
Yep. I do want to add one more thing here. I use this at a quote all the time. It's a Ronald Reagan quote, right? Trust but verify. When it comes to anyone, right? Whether, especially if it's like friends or family who are trying to share some kind of investment opportunity, you could trust them, but you want to verify, right? And the other thing is, good friends and good family will always understand if you want to pass on an investment opportunity, right? So again, if you're part of that church group, if your brother is sending you some investment opportunity, again, if they're good friends and family, they'll understand if you just say, I want to say, this is great, thank you for sharing, but I'm going to pass now. I'm going to pass on this, and you don't have to give an excuse, but oftentimes you could just say, hey, I don't feel safe. And again, if they're a good friend and family, they'll understand.
That's true. That's true. I'm going to stay with you, Q, and ask you this question. So many victims tell us that they were introduced to an investment scam through somebody they trusted. How can folks balance kind of trust and verification when a friend or a family member or even a coworker, community leader kind of recommends a scam to them? Sorry, not a scam, an investment opportunity to them. How do you go about balancing that?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to again that trust but verify. It's okay to get this kind of communications, especially again from friends and family, coworkers, community leaders. They may not know themselves, right? They may be part of that scheme and a victim of it as well as they may not know. Um, the most important thing you can do is to verify the information, whether it's a legitimate investment or not. And there's a lot, and I see some questions in the chat. There are things you could do like to verify, right? So you could go to official sources such as the SEC's website, the DFPI. We also have a database where you can check on the legitimacy of the investment, right? It's a little more difficult for cryptocurrencies, which are not registered or licensed anywhere, to verify if it is legitimate. And in that instance, again, if you don't feel safe about it, don't go into it. Also, going back to talking about your friends and family, they will understand, right? And you should be able to talk to them about your fears and things that the red flags that you see, because maybe they did not see those red flags. So it might be a great way for you to, again, accept what they're sending you, do the homework, do the research for them, and then come back and say, hey, these are some red flags that I've seen. What do you think about it, right? Give me some feedback and verify, again, let them know what your concerns are. And again, if they're good friends and family members, they'll definitely at least hear you out, if not support some of the concerns you have as well.
Thank you. And let me ask David, let me ask David, what are some important steps that consumers should take before investing their money?
The first step is asking yourself whether you should work with an investment professional or an AI tool, or can you do it on your own? For me, the key is understanding how investing works and how to do so safely and wisely. Investor.gov is got a lot of information about how to invest safely and wisely. There are other websites that offer neutral, unbiased, and free sources of information, including the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, or FINRA. My view is not everybody needs to pay someone else to manage their money or give them investment advice, like the examples that I gave earlier. In my view, no one has the secret sauce for profitable investing. But there are a number of situations where somebody could benefit from receiving guidance on how to manage their money or receive investment advice to achieve their goals. So if you're considering working with someone, or you're already working with someone and you have questions, I recommend reading Working with an Investment Professional, which is on the investor.gov website. It has information about how to check out the investment professional, including their securities registration status. There's information there about navigating what's called tricky titles. What do the letters after someone's name mean? The claim credentials. And it has other tips and suggestions on how to figure out if an investment professional is one that you should be working with. The second step is to recognize that everyone is potentially at risk for fraud. Millions of people are defrauded every year in all kinds of frauds, including investment frauds. Financial predators are skilled operators of scams. They possess a shrewd understanding of human nature and how to manipulate people. So before you entrust someone else with your money and work with someone, there are a number of steps to take to avoid fraud. And my favorite comes from the AARP. Pause, reflect, and protect. Pause means stop immediately when you get an unexpected call, text, email, or solicitation that makes you feel panicked, excited, rushed, or uncomfortable. Reflect means step back and see, does this story make sense? Ask yourself if you can independently verify, like was alluded to earlier, the details you're being introduced to, including the person you're being introduced to. Investor.gov is a great place to start to independently verify securities registration, learn what questions to ask, and other tools. And then protect means even with just one red flag or suspicion about a person or an investment opportunity, even just one, end the conversation, hang up, exit the group chat, delete the message to secure your money.
Wonderful, great advice. And as we always say, if they have this thing about urgency, have this thing about getting you to make a decision based on emotions, whether it's fear or happiness, excitement, take those things as a red flag. And something else I would add to that, if there's they're pressuring you to act quickly, but also use secrecy. That should really also be a red flag. So I'm I I'm going to ask my colleague Marissa to get ready to bring on the our folks who have questions in the chat to bring them on live. Having a little bit of technical difficulties on my side doing that. So Marissa, guess what? You get the baton to do that. But
Happy to.
before we do that, I have very quick round robin scenarios that I want to put to each of you. And I'd like for each of you to give a quick response to how they should respond to that. Because these are situations that folks might face. And this is how folks might become targets of investment scams. So here's the first scenario, and then we'll start with Q and then we'll go to David, okay? So someone contacts me online and claims they turned $5,000 into $50,000 in 3 months. Red flag or legitimate opportunities? What's your response?
Definite red flag for sure. Again, just because they're able to do it doesn't mean that they could do it again, and so that again, guaranteed return is a big red flag there. Plus, I don't know if there's a call to action like they want me invest or they want you to share your personal financial information, but yeah, that's definitely a red flag.
Thanks. David?
Red flag.
Red flag.
Promised fabulous return 10 times in a short period of time. Red flag.
Tell you, but it's very enticing, right? All right, here's scenario number 2. An investment advisor pressures me to invest immediately because the opportunity closes tonight. David, let's start with you this time.
Pressure to act now, counting on people's fear of missing out, FOMO. Red flag.
Wonderful. Q?
Oh yeah, definite red flag again. That sense of urgency that they create. The other thing I would say is if it is a legitimate investment opportunity, it would probably come around again, especially if he's a good investment advisor. So a lot of red flags there.
Wonderful. All right, scenario number 3. I'm asked to move money through cryptocurrency ATMs to transfer crypto to take part in an investment program. Q?
Yeah, I would say it's a big red flag. Could be legitimate, but more likely it is red flag. Most investment programs will take actual money from you, so why you need to go through an crypto ATM, or transfer crypto is kind of not sure about that. But you definitely want to slow down and look more into it.
David?
Paying with untraceable means, an irreversible payment method, to me, that's a red flag.
Absolutely. The way sometimes the way payment is made should be seen as a warning sign, whether it's gift cards, cryptos, the ways that you can't get your money back easily. Ask if you can send them a check, maybe. Okay, scenario number four. A celebrity endorsement video appears online promoting an investment opportunity. What should I assume until proven otherwise? David?
Celebrity endorsements, red flag. Celebrities can be lured into participating in an investment scam, or the celebrity uh, may not have actually endorsed the investment. Even if the celebrity endorsement and the investment opportunity are genuine, the investment might not be good for you.
Q? Thank you,
Uh,
David.
yep, definite red flag. The one thing I always say is, celebrities are not investment advisors. So promoting investment opportunity doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're doing or what would be a good investment. So absolutely a big red flag.
Absolutely. And with AI these days, they can take the voice and image of any celebrity and make them say whatever they really feel like. So thank you for that round robin. Those are really scenarios that people can face. So it's helpful to know. It's helpful to provide information how folks can respond. Right, Marissa, let's hear what our audience are asking. Do we have any questions?
Sure. I want to check with James Stibbards if you are comfortable coming off mute to ask your question. And if you're not, I can ask it for you. But let's give James just a second to see if he'd like to join us verbally. And perhaps not. So I will go ahead and ask James's question. I think it would be to both of you, which is when you say research or verify, can you be very specific about what steps we should be taking?
Yeah, I'll start there. Uh, so we always say do your own research, and I know can
Hi
be
there. Sorry, it took me a moment to get off mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead, James.
Having trouble with my audio. I apologize.
That's okay. I think I got your question. If Ku, you want to continue with the answer?
Sure. Yeah, and James, feel free if you want to add to it or anything at all. I know we talk about do your research as a very broad term, and we do it intentionally because there's so many things you can do. But at the very minimum, I always recommend for consumers to check with the what do you call it, the federal and state authorities first, right? If it is a legitimate investment opportunity, more than likely it is registered somewhere. If it is an investment advisor or brokerage that you're trying to work with, again, they should be licensed, and they should be licensed with the SEC. If in California, they should be licensed with the DFPI before they can start selling things to you or helping you invest. So a lot of places you can go officially, and then beyond that, we always recommend you use more than one source of information to do your research, because scammers, investment fraudsters, they could send you an article that they created themselves. They can send you web pages that they built, and of course it says things like this is a great investment, right? We want you to use multiple sources that you find independently on your own, and use those reputable sources to get more information before you make those financial decisions.
Thank you, Q. David?
A good place to start is the Getting Started page on investor.gov. It's got a number of points under the heading Introduction to Investing, which provides a lot of suggestions on how to invest wisely and safely, including verifying the registration status of anybody that is offering an investment. The way I try to think about it is you can't operate a vehicle in the state of California without having a driver's license and having the vehicle registered. So the driver's got to be licensed to drive a registered vehicle. The same thing is true with investments. In order to offer and sell investments, doing again safely and wisely, the person offering the investment has to have a certain registration. And then the thing that they are offering should be subject to some registration requirement unless it is exempt from registration. But that has to be made clear. Now, just because somebody has a license A driver's license doesn't make them a good driver. So just because somebody has a registration to offer and sell securities doesn't make them someone you should trust. That's why getting referrals from trusted friends or family members who have dealt with somebody before and has had a positive experience with them after you have verified their registration status would be the way to go.
Thank you. Marissa, do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have a question from Jill Jones, and Jill has already taken herself off mute and is ready to go. Jill, please
Wonderful.
jump on and ask your question.
Mine is regarding the cryptocurrency scams and how they're impacting older adults. And I'm wondering if the crypto kiosks, the crypto ATMs, are being used in these investment scams. And also, if either of you have any experience with the new California law that limits or that gives protections to consumers that get bamboozled into using the crypto ATMs. And really, do consumers ever recover their money in these crypto scams? Do you have any experience with that? Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Those are wonderful questions, and I think Q is ready to jump in on the crypto answers. Go ahead, Q.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I actually had a webinar, a presentation yesterday that I did talking about this. So, uh, the to answer your first question, are scammers using those crypto kiosks, those crypto ATMs in their scams, investment scams as well? The answer is yes. Oftentimes, what they'll do is they'll tell consumers, they'll tell victims to take out money, go to those ATMs, put money into there, and turn it into some crypto, and then have that crypto transferred over to some account, right? Um, in terms of the new law that was passed, the new law says basically a crypto ATM cannot accept or dispense more than $1,000 in a 24-hour period. So there is a story that I share. There's a victim. Her name is Lois. She lived in the East Bay. She's an 83-year-old grandmother. Scammers contacted her, posed as her grandson, said they needed help. That he needed help. He needed money. And so she took out $50,000 of her own money and sat there at a crypto kiosk and fed hundreds of, $50,000 and $100 bills into the machine, right? People even came up to her and said, "Hey, I hope this is not a scam. I hope you're okay." And she was so convinced that she just continued to do it. Now, we were able to help her. We weren't able to catch the scammer and get the money from the scammer back to Lois, but we found out that the crypto ATM was violating the law. Again, that law that says that only $1,000 can be inputted into that crypto kiosk within a 24-hour period. The crypto kiosk operator coined me. We fined them $300,000 and got restitution to Lois from that crypto kiosk operator. So, short answer is, if you do see a crypto kiosk, and if someone is asking you to put money into there, you cannot do more than $1,000. If for some reason you can, please contact us. We want to know, and we want to stop those things from happening. And if there is continued violation of that law, we want to shut down those operators.
And there's more, I believe, more outreach education that's done to operators, but also signage on the actual kiosk. Is that also something you're doing?
Yes, yes. Part of that law on the crypto kiosk itself, they're required to put signage up there stating exactly that you cannot put more than $1,000 in this machine within a 24-hour period. Also, be very aware of scams that involve you inputting money and turning things into crypto.
Thank you, David.
Yeah,
You want to add?
I just wanted to add to those insightful comments in answer to Jill's question. With the rise of these transnational organized crime organizations that are perpetrating a lot of these crypto scams, the money is gone. It goes outside the United States and is virtually impossible to get back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the way, the scammers ask to be paid, whether it's a gift card, whether it's a wire transfer or crypto, those are kind of methods that you use. And once you send that money is gone. it's very difficult to get back. So it's not like as you send a check or use a credit card or something like that where you have maybe a little bit of better chance to get your money back. That for you should be an absolute red flag. Marissa, any other questions?
Sorry, it's on mute. Nope, that is it for our chat questions today. Unless somebody else in the audience wants to come off mute and ask a question, you could raise your hand if you wanted to do that. Otherwise, I'll give it back to you, Strat.
Can I
Thank you very much. Well, I have a couple of questions that I hope we can talk about in the time that we.
It did sound like somebody was Jill had.
was me again, Jill? Can
Please go.
I ask a quick follow-up question?
Please.
So, is it true that this $1,000 a day limit, is it per machine? Is it per wallet that you're transferring your cash into? Like, what are the limits? Does anyone know?
Yeah, I believe it's per wallet. So the way it operates is if to deposit money you have to have an account. So you have to create an account and then deposit money into that account. And then you can turn it into some crypto asset, right? It is true that the scammer could have you create multiple accounts and then deposit like $1,000 on each one. That is possible, but it's a lot more clunky, right? It slows you down, and that's kind of the purpose of it. It's really trying to help the consumer slow down so that they can think about these red flags. Like, why is the DMV having me make multiple crypto accounts to transfer money to them, right? So again, it's all about trying to slow down, make the consumer think about what's happening, and hopefully they could read that signage on the crypto kiosk and help them think that maybe this is a scam. Maybe I should actually call the DMV or whoever to verify the information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill, for that question. Q and David, let me ask. So, if somebody does unfortunately find themselves having sent money to a scammer through as part of a fake an investment scam, what should their next steps be? Reporting, well, what can they what can realistically happen for them, but what should their next steps be?
I would recommend alerting your financial institution right away. If it was a wire transfer, it could be reversed depending on the timing. If it was by check, a stop payment depending on the timing. I'd file a complaint with the authorities, the FBI, SEC, FBI, other law enforcement. I'd consider consulting with a lawyer.
Yeah, just exactly what David's saying. You, especially if you've given money, the sooner you can try to contact your financial institutions. I've heard instances where individuals in a gift card scam was able to get that money back, but they did it within 30 minutes. So yeah, time is probably the most important thing you do. Cutting off other connections to other accounts you might have, very, very important as well. And then of course, contact, like David was saying, contact your local authorities, especially if you are still in contact with the scammer. If you could get in contact with your local authorities who can help maybe facilitate, maybe even catch the scammers, right? I think there was a story about someone in San Jose. He was in the middle of a scam. He realized that it was happening. He contacted the San Jose police, and they set up a meetup for the scammers, and so they were able to actually get the scammers. So yeah, definitely contact authorities, whether it's state, federal, or local. Very, very important. One last thing I want to add, just a plug, is it's very important to submit these reports of scams that happen to you, even if it's a while ago, because there are active investigations that are happening, and they take a long amount of time. But if you do have a report, right, that you submitted about a scam that you lost money with, and you capture as much information, right, emails, text messages, any kind of evidence that you might have that can help in an investigation, and throughout their investigation, they're able to catch that perpetrator, they may be able to get restitution to the victims. And if you have a report on file, they might be able to get restitution for you. So very important to submit those reports.
Thank you. And David, in terms of, we have so many great agencies and organizations doing work on this. Where would be the best place to report? Is it your local police department? Is it the FBI? Is it the Federal Trade Commission? Or can you go to any of those?
Well, if it's an investment-related scam, I would report it to the SEC. We have a portal called a TCR system, Tips, Complaints, and Referrals, which will be placed in the chat. And I think at the end there's a slide. So reporting it to the SEC, if it's an investment-related scam, would be the first place to go. You're also free to report it to the FBI, to the DFPI, or the Federal Trade Commission. We share information, at least on a federal level, among those agencies, but definitely reporting an investment-related, a securities-related scam to the SEC.
Thank you. And so we're just about out of time, but I do want to definitely ask this question for our listeners. One is, how would somebody go about verifying their investment professional license? How can they? I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I just want to leave folks with that information. And then the last question I'd ask for both of you: what is kind of the big advice, the main advice that you want today's audience to walk away with?
Yeah, I'll start, Strat. So in the state of California, and able to be a broker, dealer, investment advisor, you have to be licensed with the DFPI. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the good reasons is we track those licensees. And if they're violating the law, you can actually go on our website, check the license number, check information about that broker, dealer, investment advisor, and get information on whether there are enforcement actions against them, right? And all that information is saved on their history. So yeah, you want to check the validity in the state of California of that broker, dealer, investment advisor. You can, if you don't know how to, if you're not savvy enough to navigate our website, that's okay. You can actually call our phone number, and we will help you find who that actual investment advisor is, make sure they are licensed, and that there's no active investigations or enforcements against him. Go ahead,
And
David.
all you would need is just the name and a license.
You just need a license number, and we can actually look it up in our system. But if you don't have their license number, again, a name is perfectly fine. Some people have kind of the same name, so we might have to go down the list, find out exactly who they are. But if they're not in our database, that means that they're unlicensed, or they were licensed and maybe their license has expired, which always is a bad thing, right? You want professionally relicensed individuals.
Wonderful. David.
And investor.gov is the best place to start for looking for any information on an investment professional. You can check whether somebody is registered as a broker dealer or as an investment advisor on a federal level.
And the big piece of advice you want to leave people with for today? Take away.
Well, for me, I heard the earlier comment about trust but verify. That came from President Reagan long ago. I think in the more modern era, it's now verify, then trust.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Well, David and Q, I thank you both for sharing your expertise and all the important work that you and your agencies do every day to protect us from investment frauds and scams, and just by all around keeping you safe. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our presentation today. I also want to thank all our guests who joined us for today's conversation. For me, a big takeaway from today's discussion is simply to slow down, do your research, and as both David and Q have said, verify before you invest, and never, never, never let anyone pressure you into making final financial decisions that you're not ready to make yet. So, as I said, I think, David, you said this earlier, if something is too good to be true, it most definitely, most likely is. So, take your time. I also want to thank some of the other guests that we've had on throughout on our Scam Chat Wednesdays throughout August. Students Against Scams, Stay Cyber Safe, the California Privacy Protection Agency, Identity Theft Resource Center, my colleague Mark Federhoff with the AARP helpline, my colleague Marissa, who helps us put all these together, and then also the wonderful folks at the California Department of Financial Protection for partnering out with us throughout August on this Scam Chat Wednesday series. If you do want to reach out and get additional resources and information, please feel free to visit the AARP Fraud Watch Network. You can reach them at aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network, or the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. You can reach them at dfpi.ca.gov. And then lastly, you can also reach David's wonderful organization, SC Investor Resource Centers at www.investor.gov. So on behalf of AARP, California Department of Financial Protection, and all of us here, please stay safe, and thank you very much for joining us today. Take care, everybody.